doing? New season? New season, huh?
Alrighty, so, this is not yours. Alright, today we're going to talk about division. We're going to do a couple examples today of dividing. We're going to do some bigger numbers, so I'm pulling some problems right out of your textbook. I want to make sure everyone's on the same page with division. There's one thing that could help us for division, and it's a multiplication chart. So I might pop one of those on the board here, just kind of talk about how you could use a multiplication chart to help you divide if you need to. So I'll put one of those up here in a second, just so you can see that, but you just need your notes out for right now. We had homework due Friday, so if you were gone, page 19 was due. Make sure that gets turned in. That was a multiplication. That actually took a while. Like, that took some serious time because there's 10 problems there, and you're multiplying like pretty large numbers together. So hopefully you got that done and wrapped up and turned in. Grades will be updated tonight. I graded over the weekend. I just didn't enter scores, so they'll be graded and put in the book today, so you can kind of see that. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see. I think we got everybody here today. Yep. Good. And let's take a look at any other announcements. Anything you need to worry about? So, yeah, so Beth, I'll get that entered for you. Yeah, it's been graded, so no worries. All right. Okay. Good. So let's start right off the bat here. We're going to talk about on section 1.6, which is division. So, division. We're still dealing with whole numbers today. So that's kind of our main topic. We are dealing with whole numbers. Now, the big idea here, obviously, with dividing whole numbers is long division. Like, that's our method of choice. I've definitely seen people try to do division with like a lattice method type of thing. I've seen it. I'm not a fan of it. It's basically the same concept as what I'm about to show you here with long division. The big thing today that I need to warn you of when we do these examples, because we're going to do a bunch of examples today of how to divide. I'll turn you loose on some homework at some point, maybe after lunch. The big idea with division is that we need to worry about when there's a remainder today. So we'll talk about some of the vocab terms one more time, how we're going to do that. So make sure you have your notes out and you're ready to go. I will give you a number chart today, so like a multiplication chart. That should hopefully help you out. And I will show you how that works. So we will look at a multiplication chart. Okay, I'll pop that up on the board maybe once we start our first problem here. Okay, so everyone understand what we're going to be doing? We will eventually get to homework today. So we will get some homework. No, we didn't get any new stuff on Friday, but we will get homework. And it'll be due later in the week. Might make this one due Wednesday or Thursday this week. We'll see how many problems I had picked out. But homework, it'll be due later in the week. Either Wednesday or Thursday this week. That way I'll give you a couple days to work on it. Because I know division is kind of tough for some people. So I do like to give you time. Alright. So let's jump right in. Let's try a problem out where we just do something kind of simple. We'll talk about if it works, if it doesn't, that type of thing. Let's start with like 135 divided by 2. Start with that. Okay, now before we start, let's talk about the vocab terms here. Obviously, when you're dividing like this, there's a certain number that goes in the house, right? What number goes in the house in those two?
135.
135. The first number, right, goes in the house. That's called the dividend. So I'll use that term today. So the dividend is the first number that goes in the house. Okay, so this is dividend. And then the second number is called the divisor. That goes on the outside of the house. It gets locked out. It's like they're chasing each other. One gets the house first. Okay, now before we start, will this problem work? Will it work out nice and pretty? Will it have a 0 as a remainder in the very end? No. Why?
Because 5 isn't cannot be divided by 2.
Yeah, the last digit. Because when you're trying to divide by 2, the last digit has to be a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8 for it to work out perfectly. This number ends in a 5, and just like you said, 5 is not divisible by 2, the last digit. So I know that this number will have a remainder. We know that. Okay, so that's something you just gotta wrap your head around. There will be a remainder on this problem. Okay, so let's write down how we do this. So 135 goes in the house, the 2 goes on the outside. That's just how this problem works. This is how you're gonna have to do it. I think most of your problems today, I believe they already have it set up like this. They already have it drawn with the house, the long division. Alright, so how we start is you try to figure out what number can you take times 2 that would get you closest to the number on the inside without going over. And usually what I do is I start with the first number, but this number's too small. If it's smaller than the number on the outside, you have to move to the next number, so you have to do 2 numbers at the same time. What number times 2 gets me closest to 13? Yeah, 6, right? 2 times 6 gets me close to this. In fact, 2 times 6 is a 12. And now I can subtract. That gets me closest to 13. When you subtract straight down, the number that's left, when you subtract, should be smaller than the number on the outside. That's just a rule of thumb. If it's not smaller than the number on the outside, you did not pick the right number. You should pick a higher number other than 6. Alright, so 2 times 6 is 12. When I subtract, 13 minus 12 is 1. You pick the right number. It's smaller than the number on the outside. Okay? 5, we bring that straight down. So now, what number times 2 gets me closest to 15? 7. 2 times 7 is 14. So that's definitely closest. When you subtract, you get 1. Now there's no other numbers to drop. This is your remainder, right? So what I'd like for you guys to do, put an R back here and put the 1. That was your remainder, what you had left over. That's what I want you to do today. There is a purpose for doing that. It does show that this didn't work out nice and pretty. In fact, it's telling you that there is a decimal to this number or a fraction to it. And that's something we will look at in later chapters. Okay, now, I did say that I do want to talk about a multiplication chart. So in fact, I'm going to pop up a multiplication chart on the board so we can take a look at what I mean by a multiplication chart. Okay. In fact, multiplication chart on my phone here. Alright. Let's see. General math. Need a multiplication chart. That'll work. Ooh. There you go. Alright, there's the multiplication chart. Okay, multiplication charts are very easy. How this works is I think of it a lot like division, really. So, so imagine that these numbers are the numbers that are sitting outside the house. Okay, so for you guys, you're working with the number 2, right? That's the number on the outside of the house. So imagine, for you guys, since you have the house there, so I'm going to get rid of this big circle. That's the number out here. This 2 is sitting on the outside. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out what number goes on the top of the house. Right there. So this is the number we're working with, the number 2. Okay? So the idea is that when you're going inside here, so this 2 is on the outside, kind of like what I've drawn, you're trying to figure out what number gets closest to those numbers in there. So what you're trying to do is like, when I go to 13, I'm trying to figure out what number in the row of 2's gets me closest to 13 without going over. And what you do is you look at the top of the chart and that's the number you write down. That's how it looks, right? So I'm in the row of 2, I'm going over until I find a number that's closest to 13. Boom, without going over it. 12 was close to 13 without going over. What's the number directly above 12? That's the number you put on top of the house. You see how that works? It's literally telling you how to do that. So I know the 6 will have to be written up top, and then the 12 is the number that gets me closest. You subtract, you get 15, and because you brought down this next number, and now I'm doing the same thing. I'm in the row of 2's, but now I'm working with this number. So I'm in this same row now. I'm in 2's, but I'm going to closest to 15 without going over. That'd be this number. That's closest to 15, the 14. So you look at what's above 14. That's the number. The 7 goes above the house. So you can see I wrote the 7 down there. And so the 14 was the biggest number that gets me closest to 15. So I subtract. I get 1, and that's my remainder. You see how I can use the multiplication chart? This will be on the board. I'm gonna leave that there when we actually work on it today. Question?
Let's say, like, you're trying to get 43 and, let's say.
Oh, like 43, so yeah, like, the number's like way down the road, you can't see it. The trick is, if like the number is off of this, what happens is, you probably should have backed up because you could have picked the first number by itself. So in fact, let me do a number like that. So you said like 43, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to do 2, and you're trying to do like a 43 like this. Let's go 435, okay? So division. And you're looking at that and you're like, okay, well, I'm doing the row of 2's, right? Because 2's on the outside, and I'm looking across, I'm trying to get to 43, right? Because 43 is the biggest number. But the thing is, you didn't realize you could have went into the first number. Instead of going to 43, you could have just went to the 4, because 4 is bigger than the 2. So you should always look at the first number by itself, because the first number by itself is probably, since it's bigger than the 2 on the outside, I can just do that number. So what's above the 4? 2, right? So that's what I'm going to put here, because 2 times 2 is 4, and I can just subtract the single digit numbers now. You don't need to do 2 digit. So 0, now I drop down 1 number, so I'm going to 3. So now this is the new row I'm going. I'm trying to go to the number 3 without going over now. So I start all the way over, I'm in the row of 2's, this is the biggest number without going over. So the number above it, I need to write a 1. So 2 times 1 is the number 2, that's the number I got to. So I subtract, I get the number 1, bring down the next number. You see how it always works out? Like you'll always have a number you can get. If you use this chart, you should always be able to get to it without going over. And so what is that? I'm at 15 now, so I'm starting the row of 2's. Row of 2's, I'm trying to get to 15 now without going over. So row of 2's, trying to get to 15, that's this number without going over. What's the number I have to write on the top? 7, so I put that up here. 2 times 7 is the 14. I subtract, I get 1, and that's my remainder. There's no other number, so R of 1. That's my answer. 217, remainder of 1. So it is big. It works every time. And so I didn't have to use 2's, right? Whatever the number on the outside is, that's the row that I'm using. And then I just look at the top of the chart to figure out what do I write on the top. So that's why multiplication charts are really clever. If you know how to multiply, you know what the answers are on the top of the house for division. That's how it works. So I just think that these are really clever because it does set up a long division. But you're just using the outside numbers. Okay, let's try one more and we'll try to use this chart. But I'm gonna pick a different number other than 2's. We've used 2's already. Let's use like 7's. So it's kind of a weird number. We'll try 7's now. So let's pick a bigger number. 7, let's go like 343. It's kind of a big number, and we're gonna divide it by 7. Alright, it's kind of a weird number. Okay, so what number goes in the house first?
300.
The 343 number? Yeah. So 343 will be in the house. The 7 is going to be on the outside. So that's telling me that I need to use the row of 7's, right? So this is the row I'm using. So I'm using this number here, the 7's. So I'm still doing the long division thing. I got the house right there. So what I'm doing is I'm going to the first number. Can 7 go into the number 3? No, 3 is too small. It's smaller than the number on the outside, so I'm not going to pick the first number. So I'm going to go to 34 now. I'm trying to get closest to 34 without going over. Okay? So that's the idea. Because if the first number is too small, I have to go to the next 2 numbers. So 7, let's try to get to 34 without going over. So what number gets me close to 34? 28. That'll be the closest number. What's the number above 28? 4, that's the number you're going to put above the house. So 7 times 4, because that was the number above, right? That was the 4. I have to put the 28 down below, the number we got there. That was the closest number to 34. I have to subtract. If I subtract this number, when I subtract, this number should be less than 7. That's what we need to realize. If you did this correctly, the number we get when we subtract should be less than this. Okay, so when I do this, the 4 is too small, I'm going to borrow, that's a 2, that's a 14. 14 minus 8, that's a 6. Yeah, we're good, because 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay? So I don't need that. So we got to 6, we're good. Let's drop down the next number, 63. Right? So we're starting all over, we're in the row of 7's here. 7's, we got to go to 63 now and see if we can get closest to it. Actually, we nailed it perfectly. What number do we have to write above the house?
9.
9. That's a 63. Exactly, subtract to get 0. There's no other numbers, that's your answer. There's no remainders, remainder of zeros. So it actually worked out perfectly. It's 343 divided by 7 is exactly 49. You see how the chart does help you? Okay, now, who in here would like a chart? Like one to physically hold on to, so you can have it? Okay, I'll print out a couple. Okay, I'll just get one for everyone. I'll just print out that exact type and you can have it in your hands and you can use it if you want. Okay, that should help you out. Okay.
Will that be something they can use on the test?
Oh yes, I'm totally fine with that. Yeah. Yep, because I want to give you tools that would help you. I don't want you to ever feel like you're struggling, because this does help. I mean, it's a perfect chart you should be able to have. So, all right. Let's do one more. We'll finish with one more. This will be our last example of today, and then when we get back from lunch, we'll try out a couple. But I'll give you guys the option. Let's pick a number on the outside, and let's not pick 1. So let's pick a number down here. What number would you like on the outside of the house?
8.
8. We're gonna pick an 8 on the outside, and let's pick any number we want on the inside. So, pick any number. So, we're going to use this chart to help us out, and I'll print you off some, so after lunch I'll give you guys a chart. So, you want an 8 on the outside, what number would you like on the inside?
257.
257, alright, I like it. Okay, so 257. Okay, so, do we agree that the 2 is too small for the 8?
Mm-hmm.
So we can't just use the first number. So we're going to have to do the 2 numbers here together. So we're going to start with the row of 8s. We have to go to the 25 without going over it. So we're starting with 8s. What's the number across? 24. That's about as close as we can get. So what's above the 24? 3. That's what we're going to have to write above the house. We're going to have to write 3. 3 times 8 is a 24. That makes sense. Subtract, you get the number 1. And we bring down the next number, which is 17, okay? And now this is the number we're doing here. We're doing 17s now, so we're starting all the way over. We're starting with 17, we're still using the row of 8. Trying to get to 17 without going over, that's about as close as I'm gonna get. What's the number above the house? 2 now. 8 times 2 is 16, that makes sense. And I subtract and you get 1. That's a remainder of 1. That's your answer. Nice and easy. 32 with a little bit of decimals after it, and a remainder. Not bad. So it can work for any type. I just think using like a multiplication chart is so easy because it literally looks like division. I mean, this is the number on the outside, and the numbers across the top are literally the numbers you're writing down on the top of the house. So I mean, it's just brilliant, especially if you have all that in front of you, which you will have. So you'll have that chart in front of you. Okay, and they'll be yours. You can draw them. I mean, you can have them wherever you want. Okay. All right, any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, we're done with notes. We have a couple minutes here. I think we have about 2 minutes. You can kind of relax. We'll get homework afterwards. If you have not turned in page 19, maybe you should look it up and see if you didn't finish it. Maybe it's still in your notes. I still need that. So if you have not turned it in, grades will be updated today. So no worries there. But okay, so just relax. We got a couple minutes here. Turn off the.
Is there like odd rings?
That I won't tell you. So let's see what number you pick. I have to have an equal shot of not giving you homework wrong. Okay, so I'll pick one right out of the book and we'll do one more. Okay, where is your book count? Alright, you guys get to pick a number. Let me look at the page that we're on. Ooh, this is a big one. Between 1 and 25.
Also on 10.
18.
So, come to a consensus right now. Talk.
10.
I'll give you 30
10.
seconds.
10.
10?
10.
Alright. God, you always pick them. Alright, every time.
Are they always the hard ones?
No, I always pick one, and you guys always somehow manage to pick the one homework problem. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Nice. Oh, that actually worked out really well. Okay, there you go. Okay, so number 10. Here we go. Every time. I don't know how you guys do it. I've had a better chance this time. 1 through 10. All right. 369 and a 2. All right. So 369 and a 2 on the outside. Now, before we start, is this going to work out nice and pretty?
No.
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 The 9 in the end, not gonna work out. So, we know we're gonna have a remainder in the end. We know that, okay? Alright, now, let's start here. Now we have to start with the first number because I believe a 2 can go into that. So, we're in this row of 2's. So we have to go to the first number here, 3, because it is bigger than the 2. So we have to go to only the first number by itself. So, what's the first number I can get closest to 3 without going over?
2.
2. And yes, you're gonna put a 1 below. Okay? So, we're gonna put a 1 up here. 2 times 1 is the 2. That was the number we got to. That was closest to 3. Subtract straight down, you get?
1.
1. Alright, drop down the next number. 16. So, that's the number we're going to now. So, we're starting over here. We're starting with the 2. We're going across until we get closest to 16 without going over. Oh, actually hit 16 perfectly, which is 8. 2 times 8 is a 16. We subtract, we get exactly 0. Bring down the last number here, 9. Now we gotta start all the way over. So we're gonna go closest to 9 without going over. Starting with the row 2's, going closest to 9. That'd be a 4, right? So we're gonna 2 times 4, which is 8. We subtract, you get the number 1, and that is our remainder because we have no other numbers to drop. So this is your answer, 184, remainder of 1. Here's what I can tell you right now. Your remainder, if you do your math correctly, some of these problems will have remainder, some won't. If you do your remainder correctly, that remainder will be always smaller than the divisor number on the outside. That's just something you need to realize. So if you have a remainder, like we knew we would, it has to be less than this number. It has to be. If it's not, you didn't do it right. You picked a number that was too big. Okay? Okay, we comfortable with that? Okay, I'm gonna give you your homework. This homework, I'm gonna make it due on, let me see how many problems I gave you. I'm gonna make this due on Thursday this week. So you have a couple days to work on it. Okay? You have a couple days. But here's your homework. It is page 23. 1 through 15, exercise C. So you did get, number 10, you got a freebie in there. Okay, some of them will have remainders, some of them will not, so just be careful on that. You have a multiplication chart in front of you, that is yours, you can do whatever you like with that. You can use it for the test, you can do whatever you need to, okay? Today your grade will be updated tonight. I forgot to enter scores, so they'll be entered. So that'll be tonight, so you can see if you're missing anything. I just totally forgot, didn't even take my computer home, so it's always a problem.
Mr. Ward,
Yes, sir.
do you want us like to put like R and
Yes, yes, please. Yes, sir. Yes.
So if they were to double check their work, and if they
Yep.
have a remainder, that decimal's gonna be different than the remainder?
Yeah, the decimal number is not the remainder number, so that's something you need to realize. So that's, if you do the on a calculator, you'll know that you have a remainder if it comes up with a decimal on it. That's the only thing you can actually check. So yeah, good question. Yeah. So if you're looking for like 0.1, it's not gonna be like that.
So if the number is not on the chart, you just go the one closest to it.
Yeah, one close to it. Yep. Without going over.